a good time to start now that it's 3 minutes past. Welcome everyone this morning. I'm seeing a lot of faces. Feel free to turn on your camera if you feel like. And questions we can take also after this meeting for sure. Because we realize that this is a virtual access provision, and data management is a very proprietary issue most of the time. So it's important to have this engagement, and this meeting can be seen as kind of a start of this engagement. We've sent out a few emails, but we think it's also important to have face-to-face contact with the people that we are working with. Basically this webinar today is will give you a little bit of introduction into what is virtual access in the POLARIN context mostly. Then we'll go into what kind of data system is being set up in POLARIN and what it's compatible with, what are the components of it, and also clarify some confusions that I've heard have been going around a bit about what is part of virtual access and what is not. And then in the end, I will give you also some recommendations on how to comply with the virtual access requirements that POLARIN poses, which has been set up also partially with the help of our data manager. So today I'll be presenting this on behalf of Work Package 5, and this was in collaboration with also ETT, the University of Oulu, CNR in Italy, and Encode as well. And I represent SILES. So I think to start, you should start with basically define what is virtual access in the following context, because virtual access often means refers to different things. You see different descriptions of it. So basically we've nailed it down to that in the context of POLARIN, virtual access refers to the provision of user-friendly, free, open online access to scientific data, metadata, and data services from polar research infrastructures, which is RIs, of course. And it has to be also noted that you guys are these select polar research infrastructures. So if you are in this meeting, you know that you will be responsible for providing this virtual access through your research infrastructure, or at least you are representing an RI that is supposed to provide data through virtual access. And here's again a list of all of these RIs, one of which probably belongs to you or you are representing. And you can see a little map of how they are dispersed over both the Arctic and Antarctic regions. And the objectives of virtual access. It's of course important to note why we are doing this. If all goes well and all the objectives are met, then we will, with POLARIN Virtual Access, publish data sets that are currently not available, to make them available for the wider public. And this is data sets that are available that are maybe lying around at your RI. And we can try to make sure that these are going to be exposed to a broader audience. We aim to improve the fair compliance of the data for already existing data at your RI. So this means that basically some data might already be published in some public repository, but maybe it's not published in a way that we can use it through virtual access in a very useful manner. Or that also means that researchers cannot really access or do anything with it in a useful manner. And we also have the objective to aggregate all those data sets, so both the data sets that are not public yet and the data sets that might be needing some fair compliance improvements. Aggregating all this data and serving them in a standardized and unified manner. And this has been done in many projects before, but I think what makes POLARIN even more interesting is that it aims to do these things in a multi-domain perspective. So where for instance, Interact was mostly focusing on the terrestrial component. Interact being a previous project, most of you were probably familiar with that as well. It was focusing mostly on the terrestrial component, whereas POLARIN also focuses on the marine aspects and tries to not nail it down to one domain. And to me, that's rather exciting. So yeah, why should you care basically about this? And of course, many of you being data managers or representatives of your research infrastructure in terms of data management, you already have an idea of why it's important to do these things. But yeah, it can never hurt to re-emphasize these things. So yeah, making your data compliant with POLARIN virtual access will in turn accelerate research by providing open access to these historically unavailable data sets, and also making cross-domain and cross-institutional meta-analysis more feasible, because it takes the researchers less effort to work with the data. Let's first go into this first one actually. You often see at the bottom of publications that data will only be available upon request, and that's kind of an approach that it has been like that for a long time, and this is an approach we want to get away from. We want to see the data as its own asset in its own value. So that is something we do not want anymore. Then there is sometimes you can see that it's in the supplementary material. You kind of have to dig for it. It is available online somewhere, but it's still it needs some very manual approach to access the data. And that's also a hierarchical way of accessing data, something we want to move away from. If you have basically the globe somewhere on which you guys are located now, and your OAI is as well, and you say you collect some data somewhere on that globe, here somewhere in Russia, which is maybe at this moment in time not so relevant anymore, but let's say it's somewhere in Russia, and you collect some data, but you wonder, is anyone interested in this? Like, I'm just going to throw it in the supplementary material, and maybe hopefully one person will click on it at some point, but maybe not. We have to move away from that idea that data is considered in isolation, because just like you, there's other RIs that are doing similar stuff, similar work, having maybe even the same sensors installed and measuring the same components, variables in the same domains. And even if it's not the same domains or the same variables, many researchers need information from multiple domains to do their research, and cross-disciplinary research is getting more and more important. So we should move away from the idea that data is only a byproduct of publications, and that it's just it's kept in data silos, as they say. So maybe lying around in a hard drive at your research infrastructures. And in some cases, it's already even possible that you can go to platforms where they say, okay, we combine all of these data sets, and you can just click one button where it says, okay, download all of these data and work with it in an organized manner. And that's basically that's the power of data management. That's kind of what we want to move towards. Maybe not downloading it in an offline sense, working with it interactively is something we strive to even more. But you get the idea that it should be more interconnected. So basically, your data can be part of a bigger integrated data ecosystem. Also, this allowing your data to be offered for virtual access will allow your data to be used to benefit society in many ways. So by automatic aggregation into operational decision support systems, or also weather and climate models, or some aggregated data products. And I'll show you some examples of things that already exist. For instance, GBIF, which is from the biology ecology domain, and has been developed basically to see where different species occur on the planet, and you can also go into the data itself and do analysis online. So that is where you can see that the power of data management also comes in, where a researcher can just go here, and most of the work of data collection and data structuring has been done for them already, and they can move onwards to the thing that they are actually supposed to do, which is data analysis, interpretation, and research. Then we have, for instance, the EUMET view, which is giving you an idea of sea surface temperature, which is an aggregated product based on many observations around the world, and also satellite imagery or satellite measurements, observations, satellite-derived measurements. that are all combined to give you one aggregated, modeled observation of this modeled measurement of this sea surface temperature, which of course for people that are interested in this domain are very happy to have. So the kind of the global idea that we want to move towards in POLARIN, but also in the whole polar data ecosystem, is I feel that we want to move towards a space where we go in the field, we get our measurements there, and then coming back from the field, we can easily collect all of the data that we have collected in the field. We can easily gather those, restructure those, and they can automatically feed into aggregated products that maybe provide some 3D visualization of the data, and they can feed into maybe longer time series that already exist or a collection of similar data sets. And this is a figure that was made in light of non-distant legacy, a previous project in the marine domain. So also it will reduce the burden on the data management burden on researchers that are going to use your ORI, which increases their efficiency. And I have some interesting statistics on this. There was a survey of data scientists in 2016, and they were all asked what they found was the least enjoyable part of data science. And if you can see this green part, you can see that cleaning and organizing data is basically the thing that people look the least forward to. And also the turquoise blue greenish part is the collecting data sets. So basically three-fourths of what people are doing is what three-fourths of what people find least enjoyable is all of this preconditioning work. And then also it gave statistics on what data scientists spend their time on doing actually. And you can see that these closely aligned. So it's basically that there's a lot of efficiency and potential wasted, I would say, in doing some pre-processing of data and finding the right things. And you could almost see it as 3 or 4 out of the 5 work days are spent on this. So there's some massive gains to be made. And of course, we don't have to strive towards having a more and more efficient world where everyone gets overworked. But it's of course nice to save some time and energy wherever possible. So also make your data compliant with Versa Access will improve the impact of your ORI by allowing for easy data citations. And it would where if these things are not available today, we are mostly familiar with the H-score index where publications count more than data citations. This could be work like this is a nice preparation for something called a data index that might be developed in the future and set in place where people that go out in the field to collect a lot of data but don't publish a lot of research on that data, or research that only help in the field but don't end up writing a lot about it. They will also be then getting a higher score basically. And this can also because your research infrastructure will also be cited in a correct way, hopefully, if the data allows for it, or has that information, then this will also feed back to your ORI hopefully, and this will make your ORI more competitive for future funding rounds, as people can see that your ORI gets used more often and has more impact. And this is something that the EU is also moving towards. Of course, POLARIN has also being a Horizon Europe product has also adopted these open access and open access to data and publications guidelines, but also pushes for fair data management. And we can see that this is more and more being adopted in the European, at least, polar data sphere, and also the wider data ecosystem in Europe. And we see, here on the right we see, for instance, a proposed data index that has been written about in 2021, and there's many more examples that can be given where people kind of bash on the H-score being not the most the thing that we should focus on regarding impact, because it has many shortcomings, and that we should also value data as its own in its own right. Then there's often people say that AI will just easily fix this for us. So why are we focusing all our efforts on this now? Why are there 20, 30 people in this meeting spending all their hours on this? And that's basically because there's a fundamental issue with AI working with data, because AI cannot make up metadata that isn't there. And if there's any ambiguity in the data descriptions, AI or also a person basically will never be able to reliably and correctly interpret these, the meaning of the data, and will not be able to fill in afterwards what this data actually means. So if someone collects data in the field, doesn't describe it well enough up to certain standards. And in this case, we will use the POLARIN requirements as a good example. Then someone else that might use the data will never know what this data actually 100% means. And fitting it into an AI model will only make this worse. So that's not the way to go in the future, at least from our standpoint. And that's why we have to focus on data management from the start of the data lifetime cycle. I will now hand over to Rachele Bordoni from ETT, who's also in this meeting. Will hopefully tell you a bit about the differences between the POLARIN Data Hub and virtual access, and clarify some maybe misconceptions that have been had in the past. So Rachele, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Should I share my screen if it's better? Yeah, okay.
That's probably best.
Yeah.
I hope you are able to do that. It seems like it.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. So hi everybody. I will try to explain to you the differences between the POLARIN Data Hub and Virtual Access. There are some similarities, but the purposes are different, at least in the context of POLARIN. So I will share with you the POLARIN data ecosystem, how it is structured, and then I'll give you a little overview of the virtual access as well as the data hub, and the differences between the two of them. Then I'll explain to you why this is important for the research infrastructure, and then I'll give you some examples on the functioning of the data hub. So first of all, as you can see here, this is the most simplified way to see how the data flow into POLARIN. So we basically have three different sources. We have general polar metadata, data and metadata. We have metadata and data coming from the transnational access projects, and data and metadata coming from the research infrastructure. The research infrastructure and the following POLARIN metadata catalog formed what we call the virtual access. So for the research infrastructure to be able to get their data into the POLARIN data flow, needs to be integrated into the POLARIN metadata catalog. This is our entry point for the POLARIN data ecosystem. Once we have the data and metadata, they flow into the POLARIN geo network that is set the basis for the POLARIN data hub, which serves tools and services to visualize and explore data and metadata. As Dan already mentioned, the virtual access refers to the provision of user-friendly open online access to scientific data, metadata, and data services from a set of selected research infrastructures. The work that we carried out is mainly the establishment of the POLARIN metadata catalog that allows the aggregation of the data from all the participating research infrastructures and make the data and metadata in a standardized way. It's also making currently public data available to in open access repositories. We set activities that improve the fair compliance of the data. And we have a continuous monitoring and assessment of the virtual access usage using web analytics tools and expert reviews. On the other hand, the data hub provide the access to the data set, the metadata, and the services. And this has been developed to facilitate the discovery and the use of the data and metadata. It offers different services, as for example, we have the virtual access that actually is what enables to the development of the other tools and the services. We have the data selection, that is a sort of data catalog where you, as I will show you later, it gives you the overview of all the data set that we integrated. Then we have the map viewer to better locate the data set all over the world. And it also enables you to visualize them and to make some reanalysis and plots and graphs. And finally, we have what we call data cookbook. There are basically Jupyter notebooks taking the data set that we have integrated, and through some codes and script codes, you will have some sort of reanalysis of the data with different results. So the differences between the two of them are basically the one listed in this slide. So the virtual access enables the access to the data set, enables the standardization of the metadata, and makes the data set compliant with the POLARIN requirements. On the other hand, the Data Hub enables the discovery, has visualization tools, makes an integration of different data sources, and provide a user-friendly access to the dataset. So the virtual access enables access while the Data Hub enables use. The Data Hub uses the POLARIN metadata catalog to explore the research infrastructure data. And the data set that are visible in the Data Hub are those that are virtual access compliant and registered in the POLARIN metadata catalog. So if your data is not compliant with the virtual access standardization requirements, it cannot be described in the POLARIN metadata catalog, and then it can be exposed and visualized through the Data Hub. So why you should provide data through the POLARIN virtual access? First of all, it increases the visibility and discoverability of your data. It provides access to visualization tools so that also other scientists and any kind of user can visualize your data and better understand if it's something that they're searching for or not. It allows the interoperability with other data sets. We give support for non-expert users to also to make the data in the POLARIN compliant way. And allows also long-term accessibility and reuse. So at the end, what we can say is that we help you make data fair, so findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So I'll give you some example. This is our POLARIN Data Hub. By clicking on the menu, what you can see here is the list of the tools and services that we offer. We have a specific web page for the virtual access where we explain which is our goal, what we do, and how to use the data coming from the virtual access, so that, as then said before, you can always be quoted if someone else is using your data. And then you can explore the virtual access data. This is our data selection page. As you can see here, for each dataset, you have a card where there's some general information, like, for example, the title and the abstract. Then you have the information if the dataset is coming from the virtual access or not, which research infrastructure the dataset belong with. If you want to download the data, you can directly link to the download page. And then if you need more information, you can be linked to the POLARIN Geo network, where there are more information, more metadata, instead compared to the one showed in these cards. Also, the user can apply different filters to filter the data set, for example, based on the research infrastructure that they want to visualize, the research infrastructure type, so for example, vessel, observatories, or research stations, the time, the Earth system. There are like bigger categories of climate spheres, Earth system spheres. For example, if a user is interested in more in sea ice, just the data set on sea ice will be filtered, as well as on marine ecosystem and so on. Yeah, and of course on location. But the location basically is Arctic or Antarctic. Another web page that we have prepared is a web page dedicated to the research infrastructure, where you have the lists of all the research infrastructure connected with POLARIN. You can be linked to the research infrastructure page. And it also gives the information if your research infrastructure provide access for transnational access projects, or they are connected to POLARIN with the virtual access. There are many other tools. I'll let you explore the data hub. I just wanted to know that the work is still going on. It's still in progress. So we are expecting to implement other tools and make the ones that are already there in a better version. Of course, we want to improve what we expose. But yeah, I think that were the most important to show to you. But please feel free to explore by yourself the data hub. And I guess that's all from my side.
Thank you, Rachele. That's very helpful, I think. Yeah, just to show the difference between the data hub and the virtual access, but also yeah, show that what the data can be used for in the end, and how it's presented towards the user. I think that's very nice. I'll share my screen again here. So now we'll go into how the virtual access is. Oh, I see that Veronica has her hand up. You can.
Yeah. So sorry, may I make a question, or do you have a question session later? Sorry, I started a bit later, so I don't know.
I think let's keep the question to the end, because then we'll just go on with the recording, and then
okay, very good.
We'll keep it concise. Thanks. Yeah, so the POLARIN virtual access, how is it set up, and how can you offer your research infrastructure data to be compliant to the POLARIN virtual access? Before I go into this, it will be probably very technical, and yeah, I'm not 100% sure about the technical backgrounds of each and all of you. That will probably be wildly different. So I want to stress that it's that even though if you don't comply with these virtual access requirements, you might risk in a way of the funding that you have been given to be retracted. It should also be noted that we are here to help, and we want to focus on trying to get you to a point where it is compliant with these guidelines. So don't be afraid that that things like this might not be in place yet. So we'll get there in the end. Yeah, so the main thing that we focus on for virtual access is the POLARIN metadata catalog, and all of the data offered for virtual access should be coming through this. And it is a machine interoperable catalog that works as a broker. So this means that it's compatible with several mechanisms for exchange and discovery metadata. It harvests information from the RIs that provide virtual access. And the cool thing is that it does this without moving the data around. So it's just it's just harvesting the metadata and exposing that, and data access will be granted to the end users through the metadata, but they will be accessed directly from the metadata is just there to link to the data, and the data will be directly accessed from the source which we are harvesting from. So it could be data centers that we are collecting, that we are harvesting from, but it could also be maybe your data service that you end up setting up for the POLARIN purpose. And also this catalog transforms the harvested information that will come in from you into an internal data model, and then we will enrich some of the data in there in the process wherever that is possible and also needed. And on the left, I have put a little image that basically shows you that there's a bunch of different components in this metadata catalog, but yeah, but data is coming in and data is going to the data hub, basically. That is what you should be remembering from this. Then we have set up a minimum viable generic data model, as Øystein called it, in very technical terms. Øystein being our data manager that helped me set up these slides also. But these are, yeah, we have these at least available also in on a GitHub PDF file, so you can always go back to these for future reference. Breaking this term down, data model means that it's a blueprint that defines how data should be structured, and it also outlines relationships between data elements in the dataset. Minimum viable means that yeah, it should that this is the minimum set of what should at least be communicated about the data sets in the metadata, in the discovery metadata, to be fully compatible with the POLARIN virtual access. And also generic means that it should be working for all scientific domains covered in POLARIN. Whereas, for instance, in Interact, we could only focus on the threshold side. We now need an even more generic model because it needs to be compatible to all these scientific domains. So it needs to convey just the right amount of information, but not require domain-specific information that some domains might not have, which is also the challenge, of course. And then, yeah, we have mapped these metadata elements to different standards. And this is yeah, available for future reference on this architecture document on GitHub. And yeah, I will go into this a bit later also with standards we are currently compatible with. But here you can see in the first instance this ISO 19115, also different instances of diff, schema.org, DCAT, and also we recommend using the ACDD elements wherever possible for discovery metadata. So the absolutely critical elements for discovery metadata from this set that we have that I've introduced earlier are given here. And if these information are not included, then the data will not be included in the harvesting process. It is as simple as that. So the data sets need to be described with a unique identifier. This can be a DOI or also a unique, universally unique identifier with a namespace. Because there is even though it's very small, there is a chance that even unique identifiers exist multiple times in the world. So with a namespace, you remove that chance from occurring. Then a title, of course, and a little abstract that describes the data set. Spatiotemporal location, this is basically the time, latitude, longitude, maybe depth or height dimensions, sometimes even more dimensions, depending on how epic your data set can be. But there's tools for providing also those kind of data in this structure. And then, yeah, the link to the data access. So this could be either a direct download link, but it could also be, preferably, it would be a link to yeah, your machine readable interface where we can directly access using machines and read the data from there. So it's not a link to the landing page of the data sets. It is really a link to the data set itself. And then, yeah, the project tag. So in this case, it would be POLARIN, because all of the data that will be made available through your research infrastructures for virtual access are funded by POLARIN, and the work for that is done through POLARIN. So it should also be acknowledged in the project tag, so we can also filter on this later and show this to yeah, future data users, and they can acknowledge it in a good manner. Yeah, and this way if we do it this way, we can also, with this unique identifiers, we can differentiate between unique data sets, but also avoid storing duplicate data sets in the database. So we can tell data sets apart. Also in general, sometimes generalist databases like Pangea have like 3 versions of the same data set flying around, all with a different unique identifier, and it's impossible to tell apart which is the right one, and that just creates nightmares. So we want to avoid this by having each of them described with a unique identifier. Yeah, it has to be said that yeah, including all the other elements that I mentioned earlier, are highly beneficial to provide the proper credit to the principal investigators and also the data repositories that are serving these data for you. So yeah, those are definitely highly recommended, and that's why we also included them in the minimum data model. Yeah, so how to make your database compatible with POLARIN Virtual Access, and this is kind of where we move into the technicalities. Basically, what we prefer is that you would set up a machine readable interface that serves the data in a standardized manner. And this could be called is more commonly called an API, is an application programming interface. And with this, we want to focus on implementing widely adopted information exchange protocols, and we currently support the ones given in blue, so OAI-PMH, OGC CSW, OpenSearch, and schema.org. Also, we want to focus on implementing widely adopted information documentation standards, so this would be metadata standards, in other words. So GCMD diff that I mentioned earlier in multiple flavors, as they say. The different versions are out there, and we support multiple. And then also the ISO 19115, same story for that. DCAT, schema.org, and then also the attribute conventions for data discovery, ACDD, and the climate and forecast conventions. Those are things that we currently are working with a lot, and it would be very easy to implement if you would also work with these standards. Then, yeah, for file formats, we mostly work with CF NetCDF data for physical data sets and Darwin Core archives for more ecological, biological data sets that require data structuring based on events. But we are open for many other data standards because I realize that some RIs are very focused on specific domains, and then in those domains, maybe other file formats are way more relevant than these two that we give here. So we are open for feedback on this, and also willing to accommodate for different needs. And also, yeah, setting up this API can be done with different technologies. We want to focus on mostly adopting open source standard compliant data server solutions. So think about threads or hierarchs that are OpenDAP compatible, because these will most likely be very easy to set up. It can only take a few hours, for instance, to set up a thread server. In a Docker environment, it is open source. It won't cost you or break you the bank. And also these will probably be supported way along the line. So that's why we want to focus on these. So then hopefully we can make a lasting effort with POLARIN, not only in the project lifetime, but also afterwards. We want you to implement sitemaps wherever possible, so navigating becomes more efficient. And also implemented a high dataset granularity. So sometimes you see that RIs or data users, data collectors, I mean, yeah, they collect data and then they store it all in one giant, huge file, a terabyte, maybe a petabyte in some meteorology fields. I've seen this come by, and then, yeah, you get these huge monolithic, massive files, and you can't really work with them. So from the start, focusing on a higher dataset granularity, for instance, for CTD casts, when you will be out on a vessel in the field, yeah, focus on storing one CTD cast per file, for instance, so you don't have to have these massive files, and then we can solve the kind of the machine interoperability of these files later, so making it easy for you to access those data actually. But then we solved the biggest issue from the start. Yeah, and don't focus on implementing basically the opposite of these things, so non-standardized proprietary APIs that you see all too often at data centers. Proprietary, non-standardized, and also domain-specific file formats. So this goes a bit against what I said earlier, but yeah, if it's very domain-specific and it's not really also widely adopted within that domain, then please don't store your data in that file format, because it won't be supported down the line probably. And also don't implement lazy loading of web pages. So this introduces some unpredictability in the API, and we want it to be a stable platform for the years to come. So yeah, and with this, I also want to mention that we have set up these recommendations, but yeah, this is will always be done in communication with our data manager Øystein, and yeah, we can work together on getting you the right setup for the job. So it should be said that yeah, you don't need to overhaul everything at once. Just focus basically on one data set at a time, to have as a good example to see if things work, to test things. Apply these like 2 or 3 easy wins, as they say. So yeah, implement the things that are easiest in your current existing data infrastructures, and then scale it from there. Basically think about yeah, roadmaps and yeah, how you can slowly move towards this VA integration. The goal is to reduce friction for the users, but also making data self-serviceable and interoperable, also down the past the project lifetime. So that's basically what we want to achieve with virtual access. So if you have any questions, and that's yeah, as we stated enough, that you should reach out to us at Silos with this polarin@silosvalware.org email address. And if you have any questions about the data hub that Rachele had presented on, then yeah, reach out to Rachele or Antonio at ETT. And then with that, I would want to say thank you for your attention, and I open the floor for any questions. So I think we can first go to Veronica, I guess, that raised her hand first.
Thank you very much. Very nice presentations. First of all, I would like to apologize that I arrived a bit late today, but I would like to, I have one question, and this is, so as you know, this virtual access is in the project Polarin, and there is a budget for some infrastructures to provide data. The data that they have to provide is data that is new data that has not been published and is made available thanks to these funds from the project. That is, for example, the digitalization of all data, or I don't know, access to data platforms that usually are paid for users, but through Polarin are then made free of charge for the duration of Polarin. And that said, so we have a list of infrastructures, which are, I don't remember the number, 20 something, but not all infrastructures are on this, and not all the data provided by these infrastructures is virtual access. So for example, I saw in the example that there was a POLARIN data. I doubt that this is virtual access, because POLARIN is not in the virtual access infrastructures. So this is what we need to achieve is, of course, that new data is available to the researchers, but that these infrastructures can justify this time of technicians of their own teams to put this data available for the people. So could be also a Polarin data, but it's only so data from access granted through Polarin that is put on this, but it's only by the infrastructures listed there, and new data that is not available in public. Yeah,
that's very good that you mentioned this about this POLARIN data also that you saw. I think I realized it also earlier, and I should have rang a bell there. But I think it's good that I think that's a simple thing to solve. I think it's because at least the data hub is then harvesting data from us that we have now put in the same collection. So we have just put kind of all of our Silos data that is relevant for Polarin in only the Svalbard domain, because that's what we at Silos provide only. We've put that on. No, so we have a lot of Arctic data also on the Silos portal. It's only the Svalbard data, and now for Polarin we have also given access to, for instance, POLARIN data, which is more in the north of Svalbard. And then we have given this the tag virtual access also, but this is not. This should be going into different collections. So it's good that you mentioned this.
Yes, for example, I mean, of course, there is a job of making this SIOS a data set, which is SIOS is actually, yes, in virtual access, into the let's say, to make it compatible or to make it available, of course. But then the POLARIN per se data is not virtual. will not get, in this case, this budget, right, dedicated for this virtual access. So I know it's a bit complicated. Also, we need to check on the definition that is made in this virtual access page, because the definition should be referring to new data that is not available to currently, and is made available thanks to POLARIN, let's say, to EU funds.
Yeah. Thank you for that definition clarification. That's good. Tanya, I see you have your hands up as well. Maybe one hand, actually.
Yeah, I can raise two. I have one pretty concrete. So I'm from Kilpisjärvi and Anu couldn't be here, but I'm kind of the data manager. And apologies, I never replied to this questionnaire. I was away at that time. But I just want to make clear. So kind of like if and when like we open, like, let's say one of our data sets, whatever we have, and for example, we open that in Zenodo or wherever it's possible, is that kind of enough? And then also, like, do I need to think about like beforehand, kind of the POLARIN metadata and the structure, or like how, like kind of in practice, how does it work? Like, first, is it enough if for and like within whatever, I don't know, the time frame, like we open one of our data sets somewhere, and then the second part, should I follow the POLARIN metadata kind of, or the data structure, like while I'm doing this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I see that it needs a bit more clarification still. What should be focused on is that I think first it's important at these OAIs, you mentioned that you found some data set that you want to make open access in light of POLARIN virtual access. That's the first step, I would say, trying to see which data sets here are relevant, because the descriptions that are given in the proposal are rather ambiguous. So sometimes it says, okay, we are going to make some historic data sets available. So then it's up to you basically to decide which data sets are relevant in this case. Of course, as much as possible, but I think what I also try to say in this presentation is that we want to focus on one data set at a time, to basically test the setup first and then scale it from there. So I think that because the first steps will be the ones that require the most effort, setting up all of this, the interface, and also working on the metadata and finding a workflow for that. So regarding that, I think when you found this data that you want to make available, you would have to change the metadata of these data to accommodate for this minimum generic data model that I just described here. And I will also share these slides with you later on the recording, so that you can use this as later reference. And then you have changed the metadata, so then the data is ready for basically being shared. Then we of course need to be able to harvest the data in a way that is machine with a machine interface. So it needs to be going through the metadata catalog, the POLARIN metadata catalog, and if it's uploaded through Zenodo, then it won't count towards virtual access. So it has to be very clearly said that only the data coming through the POLARIN metadata catalog will count towards virtual access. It doesn't mean that all the data in there is virtual access, as we have seen. For instance, POLARIN data should be given a different collection tag, but at least for you, it's only important that you integrate your data with this metadata catalog. So if you don't currently have set up any data server or a way of sharing your data, then we will open a discussion with you on how to set this up.
But kind of, to be frank, and I know that I've seen there's other people from other stations as well. So like, we don't have any system. We can't provide any APIs, we don't have any databases whatsoever. None of the universities does. So we need to, like, currently our own, like, only way to open the data is put it into existing repositories, and that's the only option. And everything, if you need to do something, it's kind of handwork.
Yeah, and that's of course makes sense that this sometimes happens, that there's a funding issue, and especially at these institutes. And yeah, therefore we are integrating and harvesting from certain data centers and repositories as well. So-called aggregators that I've put in this list before. So for instance, Silos is one of these where you could upload your data through through Silos, and then we can make sure that it arrives in the right place, not the wrong place.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is already some infrastructure in place that we can use as kind of a backup plan. But of course, what makes this project so nice is that we, for the research infrastructures that do have the funding to set something like this up, we can make a lasting impact by setting such infrastructure up, and then you can use this. You can use this for future projects also, like POLARIN, and make your research infrastructure more impactful.
But you do understand that we can't create kind of infrastructure with a couple of months of salaries.
I think there's often a misconception that this takes more time than actually needed, but I do understand that there is some
building up
technical abilities.
Building up a database for all kind of biodiversity, marine, whatever different kind of data, you say that is easy?
This is, of course, I think this is a discussion for another day, but I do think that mentioning also, coming back to what I said earlier, we need to emphasize that, we need to start with smaller amounts of data sets and then work our way up. But I think the setting up an API and at an infrastructure where this is not yet the case, and a database is always going to be a lasting effort if you do it in the right way. And that's what we want to focus on. And if the funding is not available in your case, then that is all right. But this is something that I believe is valuable for the future also. So I do think that it should be reconsidered also at URI, whether such funding is maybe can be made available, or should be made available in the future. But that is then not for POLARIN.
Right.
Kadi, I see you have your hands up as well.
Yes, a good question. And thank you for your presentation, Dane and Dan and Rachel. I can't speak. It's early in the morning. My question is, so we have a metadata portal and a geo network and these kind of things. And generally we try to comply with common standards, but what I wonder would be useful from my perspective if you try to harvest our geo network, if there's the possibility to get kind of sort of a bit of a review, because I think sometimes we're not sure, because we have quite a bit of records, what is fully compliant and what is not. So sort of almost like a ingestion assessment would be super helpful for us to just see and prioritize where we should spend effort, so to speak.
I think that's a super good remark, and I think you also were in contact with Øystein at the SSW, I understood. And it's of course we can. This is part of this kind of individualized support that we offer through POLARIN. That will of course be different for each of every one of you. But such an ingestion assessment is definitely part of that, yes. Because of course I understand that if you have a lot of random data flowing around, different spheres, different domains, different file types and standards, then it's hard to make all of that available, of course. So it's that's a very good point. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jan, I see you have your hands up too.
Yes, hi everybody. So I was curious about the analytic part that you were talking about. So I just wanted to have more information on that. And also my second question was, do you have like APIs to get those metrics? Because at the SEN we're starting to be on different repositories. So I would like to be able to try to like automatically fetch data about the usage everywhere, if it's possible. I'm thinking long term, so it's okay if it's not available too. I'm just gathering the information.
Yeah, thank you. Could you clarify what you mean with this analytical part of your question?
Yes. Oh, Did I understand at first that you said that like you had the analytical part that says like basically how many people use our data, I guess, and stuff like that? That goes through POLARIN?
I think Rachele mentioned this also, that we, at least in work package 5, we are working on virtual access assessment in a way, where we gather statistics on the data that you will provide, and then we will report on. And that's basically, this is I think less important for you as data providers, but of course, gathering statistics is also interesting for you as your for your RI and knowing its impact. The thing is that because we are harvesting through, we are using a metadata catalog approach, like a distributed data management approach. These numbers can mostly only be harvested from, gathered from the data centers itself, where we are, that we are harvesting from and through. So this is, at least for us, it's this will be kind of one-off efforts where we will manually try to gather that information. But of course, it would be very nice if this is possible in the future, where we can just we can kind of see the data statistics of the data coming through. But of course, because we don't have the authority over these data, we can't have those numbers. So it's a bit of a conceptual issue also.
I get it. Thank you.
No worries. I think these are all great remarks that you gave and great questions. I'll wrap my head around what has been said, and also try to start working on this. Start reaching out towards each and one of you about how to with some easy questions, basically, on how your current data architecture is set up, and how we can start working towards integration with this POLARIN virtual access. And we've gathered a few short questions that we'll send to you shortly after this meeting also, and then we can start this conversation, basically. And because this will be wildly different for each and every one of you, we decided to come up with a few short questions only first, and then move into more technical details later. And I realized that we've reached out to each and one of you before, and then it created some confusion. So now we kind of we're using a different approach. So our apologies for that, and then hopefully we can move towards a space where we can start working on integration itself. Thank you everyone for joining today. And I think if there's no further questions, then I want to close it here. Thanks for everyone joining, and also especially the ones that joined at 4 a.m. That's a great commitment. Thank you. Have a good day, I would say.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.